What's up, guys? And we're live, back with another
fucking
episode
law.
of Almost Patriots podcast. World-renowned. Many Asian food restaurants will play us in the background and then have us translated into an Asian language. I'm telling you, it's good. It's good stuff. But we
Sponsored
appreciate
by Mike's mom's therapist.
Sponsored by
Well, we're
Sing
still going
Hao.
with that one, huh?
Mike, I'm working on a good overlay for your Mike's Therapy Corner. I had some ideas from ChatGPT. It was very helpful.
Fuck you.
It's gonna involve.
And fuck you, Chris.
It's going to involve cats.
Who's your mom's therapist?
Yeah,
she threw some money
cats,
at us. What are we supposed to do?
Men crying, a couch, more cats, and then a mug, like a hot therapy mug.
Men crying. Where did we get that one from?
In therapy, and so that's a good one.
Oh, in therapy.
Yeah, that's a good one. So that's coming up. Anyways, on the show today, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. A little bit of therapy stuff a little bit later on the psilocybin tip. And then we have Mike's Therapy Corner, of course. A couple cool stories in the news and some health and wellness kind of towards the end. In the beginning here, we like to start it off with a little bit of the, one second, I'm expanding. A little bit of Rico's weekly tarot card reading. So we can get it out of the way.
Here we go.
This week I have already cleansed the deck. The weekly tarot
It's
card
Rico's
reading.
weekly, monthly tarot card reader. Remember?
No. I have to get a hat. Apparently I have to get a
You
hat.
need to.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is tape it before the show, and then we can watch the video of me like doing it really quickly, so it's like nice and quick and digestible. So that requires time. So, anyways, guys, so here we have a famed Brittany's tarot card deck, and we're gonna shuffle it, and I'm gonna pick a card here, and then we're gonna read it out.
Just remember, when you pick it, we got to guess. You just show it to us, and we have to guess what it means.
Yeah.
All right, here's the deck. I'm looking at the TV. And I'll shuffle it up. Shuffle up the deck. And the
Please,
card-
for the love of God, just pick a fucking card already.
What do you think it is?
No, you got to show us. You got to show us the card, and then we guess what the card means.
Oh, I like this one.
Oh man. What the? Oh god.
The showstopper.
The showstopper. The panty dropper.
Oh, here we go.
Stopper. All right, let's look it up. Here we
The
go.
showstopper.
Hold on.
I think-
Chris got a.
I think it's like a tranny version of Brittany. That's the showstopper. When you take her pants off and she's got a dick, that's the showstopper.
I think it has to do with enlightenment of being so confident and so controlling and so in your feelings that you stop everybody when they're in wherever you're at.
Okay, good guess.
Mike has
Good
never
guess.
been in space that Mike has never had.
What about you in the middle? Fan of Lucky Charms? I feel like you're representing all the colors
telling you,
of the rainbow
it's-
there.
The showstopper. The showstopper is when Brittany shaved her head. That's the showstopper.
That was a showstopper. That stopped a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think. Yep. All right. Well, you guys ready for what it means?
I don't
Yeah,
think
let's
so.
go.
I think a transsexual Brittany is still better.
Nobody
than whatever
does
you're
the
gonna
MTV VMAs like Britney, guys. And at just 18 years old, she made every jaw drop with her show-stopping performance of If I Can't Get No Satisfaction, which gave way to a rock-infused version of Oops, I Did It Again. She always does. The legendary moment had everything. Britney stripping off a black suit and a fedora to debut an iconic sparkling nude outfit, electrifying choreography, and the raw emotion of star-stepping fully into her own. The performance launched her into a stratosphere of fame and is still talked about today as one of the most memorable VMA moments of all time. It's a reminder that a little shake-up can be a good thing. Embrace the unexpected. Embrace the unexpected. It didn't need like 8 paragraphs. You just got to the bottom. Embrace the
Just
Just
showstopper.
read the bottom.
Just embrace the unexpected. I don't know if I can do that.
Nope, never.
All right, that sounds good. I mean, like, if
Some
you're in
unexpected
Thailand,
stuff. Yeah.
right, and you take a girl
Well, that's
home,
expected. That's
right,
expected.
and it's
That's why
not
you don't
like
take girls home in
expected.
Thailand.
Embrace the unexpected.
That's pretty much expected. Now,
Nice.
if you're in Utah, that's unexpected.
Unexpected, yeah.
Yeah.
You might get that in parts of New York without realizing.
I don't know. Maybe that's why it's called the Utah Mammoths. That's why the new hockey team.
Chris, you know
what? They got little trunks that aren't expected.
The Utah
Chris,
Mammoths.
I think you're lucky because Hannah never texted you because you probably might have got something unexpected by her.
Yeah. That would
she
be
never
about
will.
right.
She never will. What else is in the news, guys? Besides Britney's beautiful outfit from 10 years ago, is this guy? Tell us a little bit about this guy. Won the lottery.
This
is Britney's spirit animal,
right? Is this guy related to Britney? What's
most likely? Probably from the same area. No, this is actually Kentucky. This guy won the lottery, obviously by the headline, 167 million with his mother. Posed with his mother, like with the winning ticket, whatever. 4 days later, he was at I think it was like a hotel or something like that. In Florida, literally gets into a fight, and basically, like a deputy was trying to break it up. He kicked the deputy, and guess what? He went to jail. You can't make this shit up, dude. You couldn't literally, you couldn't get the money and just like live off the money and live a good life. You had to fight. The funny thing was basically the reports are that he was really, really intoxicated, and I think it was his girlfriend that was there that was intoxicated. But the funny part was there were eyewitnesses that were basically saying that they were screaming and making incoherent statements. What did you think? Look at that mugshot. Just because he won 167 million doesn't mean this guy is not gonna he looks like one of those guys in a biker gang or in a trailer park. Or
yeah, he looks a little bit odd.
Sus. Super sus.
But I mean, I feel like isn't there a curse with the lottery? You know how they say there's a lottery curse that once you win the lottery, most people, I think they made a documentary about it. Within a certain amount of time, a year and a half, they've lost sort of everything that they've won.
Yeah, they go broke.
They don't understand how to manage the money, and so they just keep they do stupid things like MC Hammer.
Well, there's a rule in the military. You have to report that because, essentially, you have to get out. They won't let you stay in the military if you win the lottery.
Really? Why?
For that exact reason. Well, because if you never had any money in your life and now you got $100 million, who's going to tell you to go, do something, right?
Jump out of an airplane. And you're well, it's my airplane.
Well, the guy's hey, go clean the toilets. They're yeah, go fuck yourself. I have $100 million.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's.
I got to say this, though. The best part about the story is, by the way, he kicked the police officer in the face. But the best part about the entire story is he tried to run away. He tried to flee the hotel. And I can only picture in my mind right now, I really wish there was a video, but him trying to run away and getting Terry Tate tackled, the Office linebacker, and just being taken down to the ground.
Didn't get taken down hard enough. He has no wounds on his face, so...
Good point. Good point.
It's definitely, I think, a lot to do with, too, also that that sucks, that he just had, a tendency of, getting himself in trouble in the first place. And so it just followed him, even though he had more cash. So I feel bad for this guy, but I also think...
The problem is, after 4 days, have you even gotten any money yet? I mean, after 4 days, have you even received any money? Yeah, so,
No. Which is stupid. Wait for the 167 million to come in. If you take the lump sum, you get the lump sum pretty much almost instantaneously. You have to set up a financial advisor and stuff like that. There's a whole process actually behind.
Wait, so if you get arrested before they deliver the money, are you ineligible to receive the funds?
No, you still get the money.
Oh, so he's going to get out of jail. He's going to be loaded.
Yeah, he's going to be loaded, and I think it's a misdemeanor or something like that.
Assuming he doesn't get roughed up in jail.
So basically, this headline sucks, is what you're telling me.
No, I think it's hilarious. You win that much money.
I think you're jealous that he won the lottery and you didn't.
You're fucking right, because I worked my ass off, and he just bought a ticket and won 167 million.
Let me ask you this: do you play the lottery?
Oh, here we go. I don't.
Why not? Can't be mad if you don't play.
Listen, you lose more money, okay, than you win.
Are you trying to lawyer your way out of this conversation?
And I am risk adverse. All right.
I mean, I've played a couple times because, like, you know, you get kind of the feeling like at least you're participating a little bit. Like, you know, like at least you have a chance. I mean,
why don't you go buy cigarettes? At least you're participating, smoking cigarettes.
Fucking years. I don't remember the last time, but yeah, every once in a while, I'm like, man, it'd be cool if I just like. It's like, you know, when something new and trendy happens and you get to participate in it, you feel like, oh, cool. You know, it's like at least like.
Well, Chris, you should play the lottery. If you win, you should probably give Oregon a couple of bucks to get a better offensive team so they could beat Ohio State in the college football playoffs. You could do that.
I think they have plenty of money. They don't need my money.
I know they got Phil Knight.
They got Nike money. They don't need my money.
What would you do? Like, the real question is, what would you do, guys, if you won $167 million in the lottery? What's the first thing you buy?
If I won $167 million, I mean, the first thing I do is pay off my house.
No, you're basic.
No, I mean, like Ricardo and I talked about this. I think I would definitely buy up some construction companies in Indianapolis.
Wow, you're really fucking corny. Ricardo, if you won $167 million, I know Ricardo. He's gonna say, "I'm gonna go out and get a convertible Porsche or a Lambo or something."
I think what I would do is like build something. Like my sister, she does like some architect stuff down in Uruguay. Like she said, you can basically like design one floor of like a condo or like a hotel, and then it's just like, how many floors do you want? X the money, right? So you can, for like 50 mil, you can get like a 10-story one, you know. And then I would build something like that if I could in a tourist destination that was like always full. You know, and then just like do the real estate thing and then try to, collect money from people staying overnight. And then I would take the other half and I would take 25% and buy Bitcoin straight up. And then I would buy gold with the other 25%.
You guys are so corny. I meant, like, is there one thing you would buy, meaning like a fucking house or a car or a watch? And you got fucking Chris over here saying, yeah, I'm gonna be Mr. Monopoly over here in fucking Indiana, and Ricardo is over here being like, okay, I'm gonna be Steve Wynn.
Well, I would buy my siblings a house in Oregon. I would definitely get like professional golf lessons.
It's not going to help you. I've seen your swing. You suck.
I mean, I'm not that bad. I'm like a 12.
I'm
like a 12 handicap.
Machine, you know, like a nice espresso machine. You know.
Oh yeah.
There we go. I would just get
an espresso machine with a barista.
Or you know what I would get?
Yeah, buy the barista so they make you your coffee every morning.
There's that's a good one. I would get a maid. How's that? And then
100%. Yeah,
there's
clean my house.
Companies in Europe that are like, they have these beautiful woods in Scandinavia, and they'll like make a custom furniture for all of your DJ equipment. So it's like inlaid. It's all one level. None of it sticks out and everything. But you have to give them all the measurements, and it takes months. And it's hell. I mean, it's like $7,000 or $8,000 for one of these bad boys. But it's beautiful, and you can have everything, and it looks like it's part of the component itself. Like, I would definitely get one of those, and then I would buy Chris a fucking cold plunge like immediately.
Nice.
I would probably, so besides buying a car, I would reach out to Theo Von's like manager and be like, hey, how much to get on your podcast and for you to come on our podcast. See, because I think like a motherfucking team here, while you guys are all talking about you doing your own individual shit.
I'm going to make a less, we had emojis. This would be the Les Grossman emoji right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely buy a whole get up for the podcast for sure.
No. You can't go back on your fucking answer now. You can't.
He just double answered.
Sorry. I thought that was obvious.
Moving on. Double answered.
Moving on. Next.
So
next
China has been up to its old tricks. God, this thing keeps switching all this stuff around. I don't like it. So China, I guess, is moving away from some of this iPhone shit. I think you talked about this, Mike, a little bit. Tell us a little bit about this.
So during Apple's June quarter, they were talking about how the majority of their iPhones sold in the U.S. Are from China. But what they were saying is that they are moving in the next couple of months, all of their iPhone or the majority of their iPhone production, it's going to be made in India. while Vietnam will basically be the main production point for their products, like iPhones and Apple Watches. That's a pretty significant move away from China. I think a lot of these companies are starting to see the impact if there is a trade war here. And I think Apple and Cook is getting ahead of this. It's been going on for a while. He tried this process a little bit earlier. Now I think, though, it's a more significant aspect that they're going to be moving the production away from China, which he said.
That's good. I mean, like, I think China's crippling from what I hear. Not crippling, but I feel like they're, the whole thing with, like, I thought it was kind of pathetic, right? So China comes on and, like, we put on these huge tariffs. And then all they have is these guys on these TikTok videos who are like, hey, we make your goods. If you need a handbag, I'm like, okay, it's not water. It's not weapons. It's not electricity. I'm like, we'll be cool without handbags. Like, we're good, right? And that was it, right? So, like, America stops buying handbags from Asia, and, something else becomes cool. Like, what, that's it. That's all they got. Well, and what are they going to do next? Yeah.
Well, the bond market right now, the foreign bond markets are very volatile. But I think the bigger problem, though, with China is Apple currently makes more than 90% of its products in China. So if you think about it, if there is a tariff war or a trade war going on, they will significantly be hampered by that war, like that issue with supply chains and so forth.
I think there's some stuff in there, and I know Apple is one of them, but I believe there's some stuff in there that is a little bit lenient on those types of goods. I'm not sure, though. That's a good thing to look up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
China's a bubble. China's a bubble waiting to burst.
Yeah, I feel that. I don't really care because I don't have an Apple Watch, so I think I'm going to be okay.
I think you'll be fine, Ricardo.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, you know what? If you won the lotto, you could buy an Apple Watch.
Check this out. In Texas, he's going to turn his Starbase into an official city.
No, not he's going to. He did. So pretty much basically SpaceX is in this area, and this is a unique thing. So there's 283 people that live in this area, and basically the residents approved incorporating a patch of land as a new municipal, and the city covers 1.6 square miles. So they started buying, like SpaceX started buying this land in, I think it was around 2012. It was approved, so now the new city government will comprise of a mayor, 2 commissioners, and they will have the ability and power over the planning, taxation, and other local issues. It's really interesting to think about this because if SpaceX can do this, what stops this from other companies doing it? And the funny thing is the first mayor is the SpaceX vice president, which is like, I think his name is Bobby Pettin, which is like hilarious. So it's really interesting because now they're going to have a lot of regulatory control over what they want to do and how they want to do certain things. I foresee, though, this is probably going to be kind of an idea going forward with other companies. Because if they can do this, why can't other companies do it as well?
Makes sense. Sounds like a good idea. I mean, if you want to build issues with like 3-dimensional space limitations, right? You can't build 200 stories or whatever it is. You can just kibosh that shit, and because you own the committee.
Well, I think a lot of this went down, too, with the cable companies. I remember somebody at my old job telling me about this. And there was, like, even a town in Texas where they had to buy the town. And it's named, like, whatever the cable company was. And so, like, this is just to get, lines out there. And so I know this went down a lot with the cable companies. Like, these buying these pieces of land and then incorporating, because there's a lot of incentives to incorporate in the United States. There's also a lot of incentives to turn parts of your town into like business development districts, right? Where you're growing commercial, everything from retail to commercial, just bringing jobs into the town, and you get a subsidy and you can do your own tax and have your own police. So this is just, I think, a little bit more of somebody exercising their knowledge of how America works a little bit, and it's, if anything, it's going to bring jobs. And if anything else, from what I see or what I've seen looking this place up, it's like in the middle of nowhere. I mean, that town there's nothing there. So there might as well be some development going on. And so, I think it's kind of cool.
I think it's interesting. I think it's more of a ploy, though, because the EPA has been hitting SpaceX with massive fines. Texas is a little bit more, corporation friendly. So I think this was also a strategic move that Elon can kind of shide himself with the regulations, with certain things. It's yet to be seen. It's going to be interesting to see how this rolls out, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a Microsoft town somewhere or one of these other companies.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it depends on the location. I mean, like if Ricardo said this place is out in the middle of nowhere, then why not? But you got to have the money.
Right,
Yeah.
and a lot of it too just is more like in line with some of the administration's a little bit rhetoric about sort of creating these towns like in the middle of the United States, which I believe are what's gonna really fuel the nuclear revolution. When Trump wants to get some of these people back to the Midwest, and they're going to be like, maybe there's a fucking space station there or whatever, and what's going to power all these small modular reactors. And so I think that's going to try to drive a little bit more, and that's cheap land, man, and like the coasts are becoming ridiculously expensive. There are international investments coming in, raising prices. And so we might see more of this fuel, by this administration. I don't know. I'm for it. We got to do something. There's nobody chilling. I've been there. There ain't nobody there. There's plenty of land to do a bunch of cool stuff out there. Lots of space for activities. There's like garages. If you wanted to build a playground or a rocket, you could do whatever you want. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think when you I love the fact that you said there's a bunch of space for my activities. The first thing I think of is Step Brothers with Will Ferrell and Chris Riley when they're in the room jumping around.
Yeah.
After they make the bunk beds.
You can do that. That's what I got it from. I stole it from there. But now that you
Bastard.
called me out, it's funny. So I fantasize sometimes. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if I guess I try to limit my fantasizing about failure, but for the audience, guys, what exactly is, would you consider fantasizing about failure, and how does it affect your thought process and decision making?
Well, I mean, this is something that we've talked about previously, I think, and then I saw a Theo Von episode, and I can't remember who the guest was, and it doesn't really matter, but he was basically saying, something along the same lines, but he felt like trying to solve trying to fix the problem was actually like betraying who he was, which I thought was like pretty powerful. But for me, it's unfortunately, it's not necessarily professionally related. It's usually relationships, right? So it's like see something that you're, might be like a girl that you might be interested in or whatever. And then, instead of like thinking about or anticipating like potential outcomes that would be beneficial, right? Like, oh, maybe she comes over and talks to me, or, we hit it off or whatever. What I tend to do way too often is fantasize about it like not working out, like she makes fun of me, or whatever, the sky's the limit, right? And it's, I don't know, it's like the brain is wired in a certain way to like kind of protect you from previous traumas or whatever, and for whatever reason that's where I get stuck a lot of times. And I feel like, I mean, I know other people. When I saw Theo's podcast, I was like, okay, cool. Not the only one in the world that has that, but yeah, it's a trap. It's hard to get out of, because it's comforting in a way, right? I mean, it's like familiar, and like the way Theo Bond was saying, it's like I feel like if I try to fix it, I'd betray who I am, and it feels that way sometimes. Like if you try to undo all that programming, then the person that would become would not be me anymore. So yeah, and this isn't a pity party. I just it's more of a conversation about that kind of thing, and it's I feel like I'm not the only one.
Yeah, you're not the other one. Clearly, Theo Von talks about it, and he's a celebrity, makes millions of dollars, has some incredible friends. He's got, you know,
the
a
envy
successful.
with this guy all day.
No. What I mean is if he feels like that, that means, and he's got all these things going for him. A lot of people feel that way. I know I feel like that a lot of the times. When you start fantasizing, just in general, for me, my mechanism is, okay, I start playing scenarios. If I don't get this motion done, if I fuck this case up, I gotta start looking for a job. I gotta start doing this. I gotta get the fuck out of here. What am I gonna do? And then I do the same thing in relationships. So you're not the only one. The only thing that I can say is the advice is to take deep breaths, not to let those like thoughts protrude too much. Anything you do is a process. It's one thing at a time. One thing that's helped me with that is making lists and to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're not the only one. It's a very. I think a lot of people have that thought process more than you think. Ricardo, have you ever felt that way at all?
Nope, never happens to me. I'm chill all day. Yeah, so I think I think what helps with this is two different things. So I think you touched on a couple of things, and so the first thing is like the whole thing about the fear of becoming a different person, right? And so that's definitely linked to sort of a comfort zone that you're in, right? And that comfort zone may bring you some good outcomes and some bad outcomes, but most likely the environment is going to change because people will change around you. And so there's this, kind of powerful that, people say that, everything that you absorb makes you a different person. Your cells are constantly changing. So you're a different person than you were a week ago, right? And everything that happens to you changes your perspective, and that gives you different abilities and so forth. So first of all, if you're fearing any like success or change or even fixing anything about yourself besides fear about failure, then you have to embrace the fact that whether you like it or not, you're going to become a different person tomorrow. And it's whether you take that journey actively, right, or passively is your choice. And so if you're not aware of your things and you don't want to fix them and move forward, then that's a passive choice. And sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you want to take a passive. You're still going to absorb and learn life, and you're still going to become a different person. But if you take an active role, then you have a little more control over your perspective, right? And you can lead yourself in a positive direction. When it comes to like the whole thing about failure fantasizing, I think everybody has that. Like I try not to think about it. Honestly, like it just depends. I think with experience, what happens is that what I've learned is that it's not as fun to get excited about the idea as it is to celebrate the win. And so if that's kind of a motto you take with work, communication, and whatever you're doing, whether it's relationships, then all of this fantasizing, good or bad, is just completely washed out. Either you're going to do it or you're not. And if you're not ready, that is okay also. That shouldn't spark a negative downward spiral. Okay, not ready, boom, move on. But focus on what you're doing to celebrate your wins, small wins during the day, medium-sized wins throughout the week, and then longer wins throughout, your lifespan, right? And that way you don't need to fantasize about failure. And then if you fail at something you're trying, that's just one step, right, in the direction of getting to the point where you can celebrate the win. And you shouldn't attach too much emotion to it, especially if you're present. If you're enjoying the moment and you're learning and you're active while you're doing these things, then you have a lot less time to fantasize, right? If you're actually engaging in the process. So that's kind of the way that I see it. But I get times where it'll pop up for no reason, maybe before like a set or something. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. I did this last night, half asleep. But I think that's the kind of anxiety that can be, sort of focused towards determination, where you're kind of like, oh man, if I don't jump off the high dive, Betty's never going to go to the dance with me. So, you got to, each one has their own little power mantra, I think, that gets you through those.
Yeah, mine's definitely not. When I'm doing stuff, it's not a problem. It's when I'm active or like engaged or whatever. It's not an issue. It's that time when I'm not doing anything, sitting in my car, or, waiting for something or whatever. That's when it's like that desert space
I think about boobs.
I wish.
I do. Just like no heads, just like great pairs of boobs. You know, like at night.
Are you talking about male? You're talking about male boobs? Because we know the way
I don't discriminate. I mean, a great set is a great set, right?
What is a great set? I mean, describe a great? I mean, what is it?
Double
you got
D's,
a full
A's.
round. So, you know, talking about. I mean, like
so I'm going to tell you
pancakes.
this thing is pretty cool. There's a thing called the Pirelli calendar, and so back in the day, people used to do these things to sell, you know, all sorts of stuff. And Pirelli started a calendar, and the calendar was like every year was done by like some famous photographer, and it was all of famous, beautiful women topless. And so like each year, if you had like, you know, or part of this club or whatever, the Pirelli club, you were buying like these expensive tires, you got this calendar and it was these gorgeous women, and they have a book that you can get that's all of them, and it's just lots of great, just fantastic boobs done really tastefully.
Playboy.
No, it's called the Pirelli calendar. It's kind of interesting if you want to look it up.
Interesting. I don't recommend doing that if you're a child on your parents' computer.
Yeah, I was really just gonna say for all of our.
Hey, you never know.
You never know. I want to tell you, all those childs out there or children, do not listen to Ricardo. Do not Google that. Listen to your mother and father.
Yes. No, I don't think so. So
yeah, I mean, obviously, the counter to the is always gratitude is supposed to help, because you can't be fantasizing about negative things if you're thinking about grateful, if you're being grateful for things, but difficult to do sometimes. But that's supposedly the you know, short-term cure. Anyways,
what about leadership and letting go of the wheel?
Yeah, this one's always entertaining. I love watching, you know, like people where, you know, they're in charge or in a leadership position, and, you know, they assign tasks, but then they can't just walk away and let the people do the things that they're getting paid to do.
Micromanaging.
Yeah, they have to, you know, put their influence on it. And I use the car driving the car analogy, because two people driving the same car will result in an accident. And it's basically how it works in the business world too. When you don't let people, you know, do their own thing and you micromanage, then the result is usually not what you want it to be, right? So it's a good habit to just, you know, be available as a resource. That's your job as a leader. You're available as a resource to help guide and mentor, but you're not an individual contributor anymore. You're a force multiplier. So like when you assign tasks to people, you have to trust, it's hard sometimes, that they're going to get it done. And, you know, we always say, the saying is, you know, you give someone enough rope to pull their own weight or hang themselves. And that's what you got to do. You got to give them enough rope to pull their own weight. And, you know, you'll be surprised. A lot of people will actually pull their own weight when you just let them be. And every once in a while, you know, somebody will hang themselves, and you just can't be emotional about it. You just got to say, hey, man, you're not doing your job, and you got to either shit or get off the pot. So,
yeah,
maybe you guys feel about this, but
maybe you can send some of those people over that I let be, and they do their work and they do it great, because I have some trouble with that. Yeah, we've had a conversation about this before, but it's either a sink and swim model. Sometimes you can't always overlook. Best teacher and best managers understand kind of their employees or their underlings, their strengths and their weaknesses. And sometimes you give them a boost on their weaknesses, but when it comes to their strengths and you know their strengths, you got to let them flow. You got to let them go. They obviously, as a leader, they should always be able to ask you questions, but after a certain period of time in doing something for so long, they should have a grasp of what the task is and how to control and do certain things. Micromanaging is never a good thing. It takes time out of your day and it takes time out of the individual's day. But sometimes let those wings, you know, flow. Let them caw-caw!
Is that a tampon joke? Let the wings flow?
Yeah.
That's the worst sound I've ever heard.
You're supposed to be an eagle. Fly, eagles, fly.
At least the mic is working. So for me with this thing, I think it's important because you guys both brought up really good points. I think one of the things that's important about nature and our history is that we sort of all kind of, at least mammals, organize into groups, and these groups sort of set up hierarchies naturally. Nobody had a book or was assigned positions. And so I do believe there's some people that are kind of naturally better communicators or better suited for things. And the way that the current system is set up has put a lot of managers in positions that they shouldn't be, almost like cops responding to things where there should be somebody who's in a psychiatric role, right? And so I do think that AI may help alleviate some of that, handling tasks and managing projects, that are responsible to higher ups.
Yeah, I was going to wait until you finished, but...
Why? Does it sound different?
I don't think it's coming through your mic anymore. I don't know what happened, but...
1 second. You could just say, hey, your mic's fucked up.
I was going to let you finish. I have it typed in the message. I was going to let you finish your train of thought, but yeah.
About now.
There we go. Cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Much
it just changed.
better.
It just changed randomly. I don't know what that was about. It's weird.
Mike was
Let's go.
thinking evil. I don't even remember what I was talking about, so who cares? No, so AI will come in and handle a lot of tasks, especially like tasks that are more administrative and project managing, and allow people who are more creative leaders, project visionaries, and stuff like that to get a lot more done. Because I do believe that like letting go of the wheel is part of leadership, and like people who are training to be leaders. Especially people coming out of the military or any kind of hierarchy where there's a chain of command that's strictly enforced. What I find hardest dealing with military business owners and private sector guys is helping them understand that, incentivizing someone isn't manipulative. And that in the private sector, like giving someone a reason to do something other than the fact that you told them to, or that it should give them a sense of satisfaction, is how sort of the energy market works when it comes to human capital. And so letting go of the wheel is very hard for, I think, a lot of people who are used to having a sports car. But like the wheel doesn't even have to show up in the private sector. So if you want the wheel there, you can't scream at the wheel all day and tell it what to do. So and then that circles back to like some people shouldn't be leading, because like if you're not likable, you could be effective, but you could also be affecting other people in a negative way just to get an outcome that could come a lot easier without everybody having to need therapy, right?
Yeah, so something that we just mentioned is, I think, important is that your expectations have to be based on the information that you've provided to the individual. So if you have expectations for somebody to do something that you have never exposed to the information or never exposed to the process, you can't expect them to be like just do it without some sort of assistance and input, right, and guidance. And so I think too often what we do is we give direction, we give somebody a task, and then expect them to do it without giving them the tools needed to do it, and that results in micromanaging. And we think that's the same thing, but it's like, no, you have to spend some time teaching and mentoring before you can just let them.
Some of the best managers that I've ever experienced are ones that take everything that we've talked about and make it their responsibility to manage those things. Like really good CEOs, right, will be like, all right, hey, I need this. And then he'll ask Bill, right? And he won't bitch at Bill. And Bill will be like, man, okay, it'll be like 4 days. And he's like, and the CEO knows he needs it in a day or two. And he'll be like, okay, get started. And then he'll go back, right, and be like, I need something quicker than 4 days. Is this possible? Find someone who's like, yes, this is possible. And then so they don't bring it. They don't say, Phil, you slow motherfucker, I'm going to fire you, right? They handle the shit and they hedge so it's almost like being like this sort of like task DJ, right? Where you're like, but you can't scratch the record, right? You can't force the record to not be that BPM. And so you just have to understand that these are the things that need to be done. And if you can do that without blowing a budget, right, then you become a CEO. I mean, honestly, that's kind of how you operate a lot of businesses, is by taking these resources regardless of their limitations and still being able to create a profitable output.
Yeah, so I built that pyramid, and someday I'll unveil it, but essentially that's the thing, is like you get to a certain level at the top of the pyramid where you're tailoring your leadership style to the people that are around you. It's more like a proactive approach to leadership, as opposed to like in the lower tier, you can pretty much get away with just doing like setting a good example. You can pretty much get away with doing that for like a long time. But like once you like want to like sort of tier up in the leadership world, you got to do what Ricardo just said, and you have to tailor your leadership style and everything that you do to the people that are around you.
Like for me, with having to deal with attention deficit and stuff, I always was really good at what Chris was talking about, force multiplying. Like I get into an office and they'd be like, we need this done, and there'd be whatever portion of that project that I knew that I wasn't going to be able to focus, and usually when you start out, it's a lot. And so if it was like a lot of reading, I'd be like, fuck this. Like, who can I pay to fucking summarize this for me, right? As long as it's less than what I'm making that hour, right? Honestly, I win. And it helped me so much, and especially to shoot up.
Subcontracted.
Only the things that I knew I wasn't good at, right? And I shot up, and then I was surprised when people were like, how are you getting all this shit done? And I'm like, well, because I'm not pretending that I know about accounting. I'm just fucking like, paying someone that knows more about me, because the point isn't for me to learn accounting. The point is for the accounting to be right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, next question.
ChatGPT.
Sure. I'm just
Ricardo's AI agent.
Yeah. But
well, I mean, it's smart to use the technology that you have. I mean, I think so. We've talked about this, Ricardo. What was that? You said there was a meeting where you what Fahrenheit is it? That's the same as Celsius, and you're like, no, it's the same. And the guy was like, no, it's like Google it. Like, just fucking Google it. It's the same shit. I hate that shit so much. They got these Gen Zers or whatever, you tell them something and they argue with you. You're like, did you even fucking look it up? Like, did you take 10 seconds out of your day to look at what Google says rather than just fucking argue with me about it and tell me that I'm wrong?
Yeah, that's like the lowest level. But yeah, I mean, we can all educate ourselves better. There's a lot of bullshit out there, so it's hard to know what to absorb. Speaking of absorbing things, there's this cool video I saw, and just to keep going a little bit.
That's how we're going to segue absorption.
Absorb the good energy.
You're doing permeable membranes, some permeable membrane action. Is that?
And so this weekend I was lucky enough to be invited by a great group of girls, a book club here. Shout out to the book club. Shout out Jess and the girls. And one of the girls had grown some mushrooms, so we were lucky enough to go to wine country, which I'd never been to here in Temecula, from vineyard to vineyard.
There's a wine country?
Yeah,
there's tons of it out there.
I think it's as big as your backyard, your mom's backyard. It's not huge, but there's about 8 or 9 vineyards, and they all have their little setup. There was a good band they had there too. Some of them have like areas where you can like fire pit, so it was really fun. Anyways, lots of healing going on there as well. But I came across this video after doing that, and I personally believe that it's a good way to sort of, if you have good intention, if you're using it the right way. I'm not talking about party drugs, but it's a good way of just sort of like, I found that it always makes me feel fresh and clean and motivated, not like alcohol or anything else where I feel a little bit, sort of like I hurt myself. And since there is kind of a shift away from alcohol, this is one of the cool things that people might be shifting towards. And there's a lot of data supporting that it has some good health claims. And this lady is going to explain a little bit about kind of how that
psilocybin goes into your brain, it's converted to psilocin, so it opens your visual cortex. You're able to see more of what's actually there around you, and it removes you from your default mode network, where all of your habit loops and decisions and basically it's autopilot that we create throughout our lives lives. Michael Pollan describes it as fresh snow powder for the brain. So instead of going down the same ski slopes every day where that groove is already built in, it's like the feeling of when you talk to your mom on the phone and you have this crazy reaction and you drop back into being 12 years old again. Like that automatic response is able to be refreshed in a way, and you're able to think differently. A lot of people are scared of losing their mind, changing their mind. That is like the entire point. Your mind will change, and you will grow new neural pathways in your brain.
Cool, man. So there's a little bit about that. I mean, who the hell knows who this is? I think she just read a study, but a little bit about sort of like how that can help with intention. You sort of rewire your brain a little bit. We talked a bit about this today on the chat, but in general, what ends up happening is that, your brain is sort of like a predictive machine. And so because it has to predict these outcomes in order for you to survive, you develop this thing called a default mode network, which is a set of predictions that basically creates reality or your reality. And when you take psilocybin, apparently what it does is it kind of like, takes away those things that say like, oh, that's what a chair is. And so then you look at a chair and then maybe you see like a lion, and it's not because there's a lion there, but it's because your brain is literally seeing whatever your imagination sees, because it's completely decoupled from saying that, oh, that's what a chair is supposed to look like. And it can do the same thing with some bad habits, especially anxiety, especially depression, right? Especially bad chains of thoughts. And so it can really help kind of clear out your mental system. The whole part about, like she says, about losing your mind, like, I haven't seen that much. I've seen more of that with sort of the harder chemical drugs, people who take these chemical drugs, and acid be one of them too. But psilocybin is pretty good. It's pretty natural. So I do recommend that. But yeah, I just wanted to give that presentation. I know you guys don't have too much experience with that, but you do with health and healing.
I was triggered, so I ran off. Sorry.
Yeah, I can tell you did something to your hair. You curled it over a little bit. So
no, it was like that before. I just had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Ricardo, have you ever taken this, or do you know anybody that's ever taken these type of
Yeah, I took some this weekend. I just told a big story.
I mean, like, and obviously you were talking about the effects of it, but do you, like, did it change your, like, thought process? Did it change your brain and things of that magnitude? Did you really notice a difference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the difference that I notice is, like, here's the difference. Like, and I well, you don't have to take psilocybin, but like, so go tonight, drink like a bunch of whiskey and eat like a cheeseburger and a bunch of chips and fill yourself up and go to sleep and wake up. And then when you wake up, give yourself 5 or 10 minutes, open a journal and just write down 2 minutes of how you feel, how your body feels. Right. And then the next night, I want you to eat a handful of mushrooms, right, and drink some water. And then wake up the next day and tell me exactly how you feel, and then that's exactly how you'll notice the difference. And so the difference is 100%. Like, yeah, I don't feel hungover at all. I feel much more energy, and I don't have any rumination or negative thoughts. It's not that I feel high. I don't wake up being like, whoa, dude, I'm ready to like conquer the day, drink Red Bull. But you wake up and you wake up and you're not like thinking about all of these negative things that you either went to bed with or whatever. Those aren't there. They're not there anymore. I mean, you can still think about them, but they're at bay. So that's kind of a good way to put it. Is just kind of gives you more of a perspective. It's like, oh yeah, I was really worried about that, pregnancy, but now I remember that there's this thing called the morning after pill. Cool. And then you just go get your coffee.
Wow, we went there.
I mean, like
it's that kind of weekend.
It's like it could be, but it could be. It could be just like that. You could be like
that type of
some
weekend.
Dudes will be like, I don't know what to do, and they won't sleep, and then you look, and then or you could just take some mushrooms, wake up like, oh yeah, they have this thing.
So the moral of the story is mushrooms lead to abortion. Got it. Okay.
Take that in any way that you want. And speaking of abortions, guys, the line between wellness retreats and festivals being blurred. I'm telling you, abortions are soon to come. Listen to my man here.
Partying at Coachella is over because it's now a wellness retreat in disguise. Music festivals like Coachella and Stagecoach used to be about pushing your body to the limit. But this year, things felt different. We had the first ever 5K run hosted by Electrolit. Good Wipes up-leveled the bathroom experience entirely by bringing high-end porta potties to the desert, redefining what it means to be clean at a festival. Plunge set up cold tubs for post-set recovery. And lastly, mocktails and non-alcoholic brands were everywhere. The line between music festival and wellness retreat is becoming blurred, but the real energy of this wasn't even inside the venue. It was at the off-site activations. Surf clubs, ice baths, run clubs, lounges that felt like spas. The lifestyle and vibe that people are showing up for, it's less rage and more recharge. And brands are realizing
it's less...
Yeah.
No,
this guy's great.
It's more vintage. You can
fantastic.
Take photos.
I want to meet that guy. So yeah, I mean, Chris was sending me some stuff about some of these big sports clubs, sort of blurring the difference. I always thought it was like kind of the same, and so I told this to the people at Scorpion the other day. But like one of the things that like my mom's did, she was doing skincare, was that she went over to Europe to study or whatever, and she was like, this is like a bunch of bullshit, and so she went to the hospital. And she went to the burn treatments to see what they were doing to treat the people who had like burns and like all these crazy things. And she's like, I wonder if I did that before they got burned, if it would it would help people's skin. And it turns out it did. Right. Turned out it was great. Right. So like laser therapy, red light therapy, galvanic, which is like an electric current therapy, everything from like removing. And so I feel like what's happening with wellness because of this, the failure, or not the failure, but like the, people moving away from pharmaceutical and Western traditional medicine of like just the pill suspension, is sort of like, okay, well, like, like this cold therapy is really for athletes, right? Who are like, pitching a game, and then you got to put that thing in ice, right? But now if you do it before you pitch every day, then you never have, And so I think we're seeing a lot of this reparative sort of therapies and holistic therapies that we would consider more reparative and healing coming into the mainstream and becoming preventative, part of like the mainstream every day.
I feel like a lot of these like new like themes, I want to say, or new workouts or recoveries, I think it's like a phase, because like, cold plunge is the big thing right now, which is remember they used to have oxygen or like IV drips, and then those oxygens bar. Yeah, but they're not as popular, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like a lot of these things, like the mocktail, non-alcoholic brands, I love the fact that everybody's more into being healthy and doing health-oriented things. But it's like, for me, I feel like it's like the common things that you've done long-term have proven themselves in a lot of ways. Like, just working out with the traditional ways. Now, you can refine that with the new like science and stuff like that, but still working out, or steaming, or saunaing, or cold plunges. All of these things are like really been traditional. It's just a revamp on the marketing of these ideas. It's just a different way of looking at it.
I mean, I think that it's a couple of different things. One of them, it's a product of our success, right? I mean, you don't start researching ways to live longer if your life sucks, right? So I think that we've gotten to a point where we have so much excess that people are starting to try to take advantage of it. They want to live longer and live healthier lives. I think it's also the food and the drug industry has gotten so bad that it's kind of forced people in that direction to an extent, So I think it's a combination of those two things. And now we're seeing this kind of explosion of it all happening. I think post-COVID is part of it right now. Everybody's sort of trying to get away from, that really dark time, and it's just sort of kind of coming to full fruition, I think.
But do you think it's the large majority of people, or do you think it's a small minority? Because, if you look at a lot of this country, and I hate to put it this way, in a lot of parts of this country, they still rely on fast food. They still eat fast food 2 times a day. So a lot of these fades, like the cold plunge, you hit it on the head. It could be prolonging your life, or a new method to help you with your recovery and so forth. But I feel like it's geared towards not the average person,
I think that's the whole point, man. I mean, you can't use all or nothing thinking. I think what's happening is that instead of everybody following one thing, segments of the population are going out and sort of living their lifestyles a little bit more the way they want to. And some of the segments, more and more every day, are focusing on health for whatever reason that is. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the ability to live a really good life, especially if you fucking like go to like Singapore and you like do a podcast, right? And like everything's cheap. Like you want to be healthy. I mean, there's nothing, that's what's going to help you live or engage with your reality the most, is having a healthy, fit body, which it should be everywhere. But like if you're living in a big metropolis, then, there's no access to fun unless you achieve. And so achievement's almost more important than, your physical fitness, because you're not going to be able to use that body in any cool situations unless you've gotten some of the things.
What's the excuse with people that live in Indiana that can't get a cold plunge?
Poor consumer habits.
Well, we've already kind of touched on some of it. Is like your thing the other day about how everybody leveraged to go to Coachella.
Coachella, yeah.
So I mean, there's one example right there where a lot of these people, a lot of normal people that don't have money are wanting to seek this kind of thing. But I think the American way has always been let's have access to everything that you can possibly imagine. That's America, right? And I mean, even when I was a kid, organic food was becoming more popular. I mean, not mainstream, but like people were seeking that out. And so now fast forward, 35, 40 years, right? And of course, if it's something that people are interested in, it's something that makes people feel good, then of course it's going to, blow up. And I think we're just seeing it continue over and over again. Like I said, people are starting to research ways to live longer, live healthier, live better, more fulfilling lives. And I mean, I feel like shit when I eat pizza. I feel like shit when I eat a burger and drink whiskey. Obviously,
well, of course.
But I'm all for it. I think Coachella. I don't think that's the experience I'm looking for, but I'm definitely interested in a lot of those things for sure.
But do you think Coachella intentionally did that though? It's not really a wellness thing, but because they knew their crowd of people that are coming, so they were like, everybody's gonna pull out their phone and be like, "Woo! I'm an influencer. Look at my selfie in the cold plunge."
I think, unfortunately,
I don't know why I was making that voice.
It's gonna sound awful, but I think that there's lots of bifurcations happening, right? And there's a lot less that you need to do to participate and to survive in society. And so I think if you want to be someone who's like an incel and like you're playing video games, you're really good at tech, you'd be a genius, could be making tons of money, right? I think that there's like a lifestyle and a little cohort of people, a social cohort for you. But what I do think is that there's a lot of people out there who like to travel and they like music and they like life and they're trying to be happy and they like love and they like to make love and they like to have sex and dance around, and all that takes energy. And if you're all fucked up and you're not in shape, then you're not going to have the energy to dance, and you're not going to have the energy to travel, and you're not going to have the energy to have sex. And so I think all of that stuff is coordinated with just, hey, look, the things I like to do involve my body, and then there's people who don't. Things I like to do don't involve their body, and they're fine too. It's just a different little segment of people, and the ones that do are just getting more shit. Like, okay, well, how do I have better energy? I have all these recovery things. How do I have better sex? Well, I do this and I do that, and I keep myself this, and how do I eat better? And like, how do I have a better time? I go instead of going to the concert down the street, I go to the one in the middle of Denver, and then it's like, oh, okay, so now it's a lifestyle.
Well, I think they obviously didn't illustrate the entire spectrum of Coachella. I'm sure there's still plenty of people that got hammered and got high.
It's known for its drugs.
Yeah, I'm sure there was that aspect of it too. It's a full spectrum. Again, it's the same thing. It's the American way. You want to have everything that you could want possibly. I think to Ricardo's point too, there's a lot of people that are live in that I want to be connected with the earth, connected with the people around me, sort of thing. And like it's really hard to be connected when you have a beer gut. So
that's a good point.
That's a great quote. It's really hard to be connected when you have a beer gut.
Yeah. That is very. That should be on a T-shirt.
You're getting connected to the ground more, definitely, for sure. Gravity's helping you out.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that was a good show, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Just about an hour here. We're going to wrap things up. Tune in next week. There's going to be a Almost Athletes show next week, maybe, possibly. Yep. If you haven't, check it out on YouTube. Check out our channel, and then check out the Almost Athletes section if you want to hear these two guys talk about sports and basically just making fun of people that make a lot more money than them. And gloating with them.
Well, that's of course, right?
It's kind of hilarious.
But what I do on this podcast.
If you want to learn, be on this podcast. And catch us every Thursday here at 4 p.m. Western time and 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you guys next week. As always, it's Mike in New York, Elvis in Indianapolis, and myself here, Rico in San Diego. This is the Almost Pictures podcast. Yeah, hit the like, subscribe. Take some magic mushrooms and dance and make love.